We've been working for decades, and you'd think by now that we'd be in the financial comfort zone, right? But the truth is that the math just isn't adding up anymore. I did a video like this one a few months back, where I talked about the things that Gen X used to afford but have now become out of reach. And you guys had a lot to say about that in the comments. So I'm back today with 7 more brutal financial truths about the things that Gen X may never be able to afford again. I'm Sherry, and this is where Gen Xers call the shots. So let's tell it like it really is. The first thing on the list that Gen Xers aren't going to be able to afford for much longer is college for your kids. College was supposed to be a ticket to opportunity, but now it's just become a debt trap for students and for parents. The reality is that most Gen X parents, they can't cash flow their kids' education without loans or financial aid. The idea of giving our kids the start in life that we didn't have is now colliding with everything else that's competing in our wallets right now. Gen Xers now carry the most student loan debt of any other generation. And that includes student loans of our own and Parent Plus loans for our kids. It's just proof that we can't afford this system anymore. The dream of giving our kids a debt-free start in life, it's just becoming not practical. And that leads me to the second thing that Gen Xers aren't going to be able to afford much longer, and that's supporting our adult children. You know, have you noticed that in our culture that the age of adulthood keeps getting older and older? You know, when I was a kid, turning 18 was a rite of passage. You know, that was a time when, our parents can't tell us what to do anymore, except for the whole, living under our roof thing. But other than that, you were grown. You either joined the military, got a real job, started college, on your own. Today, adulthood looks very different. We still financially support our kids all through college years now. They stay on our health insurance until they're 26. And some of them never get off of our cell phone plans or our car insurance. I didn't have kids, so I won't preach too much here because you know your own individual situations. In the economy, it's tough. We all get that. But this delay in independence, it comes with a cost. And not just to us, but to the kids as well. That cost to a lot of Gen Xers is that our retirement savings are taking a huge hit because of it. And the third thing that Gen X isn't going to be able to afford is early retirement. Now we're wondering if we're going to have enough at 65 to retire. With Social Security cuts and Medicare premium increases and so on, we're beginning to question whether we'll be able to retire at all. The idea of working because you want to is being replaced by working because you have to. Retiring early is going to require sacrifices for decades in order to save enough. And as Gen Xers, those multiple decades have passed us by. You either saved enough for early retirement or you didn't. Each year that passes, the finish line gets further and further away. And the fourth thing that Gen X is no longer going to be able to afford is upgrading our cars. The average car payment, it's well over $700 now. The average car price just reached $50,000. Used cars, they cost what new cars cost just a few years ago. And 25% of Gen Xers lease their cars. And that's an almost impossible cycle to escape from. It's like a perpetual car payment. Can we justify a luxury price tag for basic transportation? I would love to hear in the comments if if you're going to have to keep your car a lot longer than you usually would. And the fifth thing on the list is major home renovations. With the current housing situation the way that it is, many people are just staying put. And with that usually brings about ideas on, renovating the place, remodeling. I'm not talking about regular maintenance here or, things breaking. No, I'm talking about projects like getting the kitchen up to the 21st century or remodeling the bathroom, finishing the basement so the kids can move back home. With the cost of supplies, and not just that, labor itself, 10, 20 years ago, we'd be gung-ho to just do it ourselves, save on the labor. But now, is that a project that we can take on? Now you get a $50,000 quote for what used to be a $15,000 project. It's about deciding what is a necessity versus what isn't. Hey, quick pause. If you're getting anything from this video today, I would love for you to subscribe. I post videos every week like this and everything else that pertains to Gen X. I would love for you to be a part. Thank you. And the sixth thing that Gen X will not be able to afford is long-term care. We're already facing these dilemmas today with older family members and our parents. Currently, the average private room in a nursing home is $100,000 a year, and Medicare doesn't cover it. And long-term care insurance, that's not really an option for most people. The premiums seem to have no upper limit. And some of the companies, they've gone out of business due to the expensive payouts. So who wants to take the risk of paying these premiums for years and years only to have the insurance company go out of business right before you need them? If this one is becoming more and more out of reach, in the Medicaid route becomes more of a death sentence than an option, this is all a really concerning situation, to say the least. And the seventh thing that Gen X is no longer going to be able to afford, that's debt freedom. I've been enjoying debt freedom since I paid my car off in 2022. And I try to be grateful for that existence every day because I know exactly what it feels like to be crushed, under that load. Debt doesn't always come from overspending. Sometimes it's medical bills or car repairs or just life hitting all at once. When those moments, they start stacking up, freedom from debt feels like an impossible feat. That's a trap that more and more Gen Xers are facing, even the careful ones. So these are the brutal truths. And maybe our future will look a little different because of it. Older cars, dated homes, working longer than we planned. I just hope that we can all create a future that we don't dread, but one that we can look forward to, one that we can make the best of, or at least learn to be okay with it. And if you didn't see the video I did a few months back, I'll link it right here. 10 things in that video and 7 things in this one. It adds up to possibly an uncertain future for us Gen Xers. But we've got resilience and adaptability on our side, and I feel we're going to have to use that going forward. But I hope you have a great week ahead, wherever you are. I will see you in the next video. Bye.